Greetings, everyone. Antonio Garcia here with the Cozy Book Nook, and I am here with two authors, Onita Morgan Edwards, right?
Correct.
Gosh, I don't know, for some reason it was like, I got stuck on green. I don't even know where that came from. So yes, and it's one of those things where you like start having like panic attack, like, oh my God, am I saying it right? Am I saying it right? And Whitney Bell, we're here to talk about their anthology book, and we have several other people here that will be doing some readings from their parts as well too. But ladies, thank you so much for joining me tonight. You have a copy of the book right there?
I do.
Perfect. Might I take a look at that real quick?
Yeah.
I forgot to grab a copy, but this is it right here. It is called A Gathering of Flowers. And you were two of the contributing authors for this, correct?
We're the editors.
Okay.
I contributed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how about we talk about how it kind of came about? The name, like how you kind of got some of the other writers together, and yeah, how did this kind of start?
Yeah. It kind of started, I want to say, a couple years ago. I put out a call on Facebook and just asking people if they wanted to write a book together. And initially, a few people said they wanted to, and then a few people backed out. So I put it on the back burner for a while. And then left the United States and lived in Panama for a while. And then when I came back, there was still kind of this urge to get some women writers together. So I said, okay, let me just go back to Facebook. So I went to Facebook, and then a few people said they wanted to do it. And then I reached out to some other people who I knew from graduate program who are writers, and just asked some people and said, hey, I want to do this thing. And of course, this is my writing partner. So
nice.
She's always kind of down to try new things with writing. And so when I proposed it to her, she was like, okay. And so we just, put it together, and it took us about 9 months, I think, from say June or July of last year until the book came out in March.
Okay,
So.
and I saw that you also have a book out. What's it? A Dream?
High Street to the Indigo Dream.
Okay, and that's a book of poetry as well. So you'd already had that as well. And you write in this one as well, or you did the editing to help out?
I didn't. I did the editing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. And that was back. I think I saw it was published in like 2017, right? So this started back in like 2023. They started doing that.
Well, with the anthology, yeah. So it would have been June or July of 2023.
Okay.
And I was, putting out both Facebook posts and sending out emails and talking to people. And I think a couple writers initially said, okay, I want to do it. And then, like, come deadline day, they were like, I can't do it. So.
How many total do we have in there?
9.
You have 9,
Thank
okay.
you, because I was like, I think it's 8, but that's 8 without me.
Now, did you have more submissions that you had to kind of go through, or were these just 9 that committed and pushed through? And
Yep.
Okay.
So just 9 that committed, and then there were 4 women who I got with after the book came out, or right before the book came out, and we just kind of got together once a month or so just to talk about essay writing for this specific group of women. But for the most part, we just, we cleaned them up as best we could. We had conversations with the ladies to get them to kind of pull out some of the gritty details, because sometimes...
Was there a theme, or was...
Kind of yes and no.
Okay.
So what happened was I was trying to think of ways so that everybody would kind of be on the same page. So what I did was I was looking at prefixes. So, okay, we'll all pick a word that starts with the prefix com or com. And so all the stories are built around words like community or communion or compact, complement, or what's your word, Nikki? Companionship.
Very nice.
So yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of come up with that sort of grouping things. I mean, I couldn't even think of one word. You just like said a bunch of letters. Like, I have no idea what was all in that. So that's awesome. And how long have you been writing? You're a contributor. Have you written before, like
I have.
on your own?
So yeah. So I kind of started writing, I would say, probably in middle school, but didn't. It was just more like journaling. So just kind of, getting through some tough life stuff. And then as an adult, I was kind of doing a little bit of poetry, heartbreak and all the stuff that 20-something-year-olds kind of have to deal with. And then after I got married and had, written a short story and or what I thought was a short story, and then it kind of started to grow, and I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? And I couldn't manage it. And then eventually, I went back to school, finished my bachelor's degree, went back to school again, and did my master's in creative writing so that I could understand the writing process and how to get through it and how to manage, 200 and some odd pages of text. And so, yeah, it was just kind of, that was my story.
Then, no, is there maybe a sequel coming from here, or is this going to be like a growing series, or is this something new secret?
Nikki's out there. She wants to do it again, and so maybe Amanda too. I don't know. I'm putting her on the spot. But what do you think?
We talk about it. Yeah, we probably will at some point. But it will be when Onita is ready. She is so solid about ideas. When Onita has an idea, it's get on the train or step back and wave, because she's going to take it until it's completed, You
kind of need that.
Yeah.
You need that, though, because otherwise projects just fall on the wayside and don't get completed. I'm fortunate that my other half, Leslie, who's not here, keeps me on track a lot, because I'm a creative, but I'm also squirrel. Very I want to do this now, I want to do this now, this now, and she keeps me really focused. So it's good to have that anchor to really make sure that the project gets through. So as an editor, I've only heard people to go through editors and stuff. Is it difficult as an editor when you get raw material to have to, do you have to go back to them at all and say, hey, we need to fix this or we need to fix that, or was it just more grammatical that you kind of worked on? I don't know what an editor, me, it's just when I go to beta readers, hey, just if you see some kind of continuity errors or you see some kind of commas or bad, but editors are very line by line a lot of times and very methodical. How is the editing process on having so many different writers in one book with different styles and stuff to edit?
So Onita gathered the stories, and a lot of the writers in the book are seasoned writers. So a lot of the writing was really polished, and in that sense, you kind of step back and appreciate the story, and then look at the mechanics of it, okay, is this punctuation correct here? Or look up a certain word and make sure that it is, placed the right way, or, the smaller details. And then some of the stories sometimes, she curated them and got them from the writers and then sent them to me anonymously. And so in those, there were a couple essays where I felt like the writer was really getting close to something profound, but it just wasn't quite there yet.
Right.
And so in that sense, it's tricky a little bit, and that would be considered
it's hard to go back to the creative mind saying you're so close and then worried about,
Yeah, I'm a sensitive writer, I'm a sensitive reader and a sensitive editor, because I could really take offense to someone changing comma in my work,
I can understand that. I can understand that.
So, after I took the first look at him, then Onita and I met and we talked about, okay, this is what I think about this essay, and what do you think about this? And so we basically had a discussion around each essay. What are its strengths? Is there any place where it could be stronger, or do you think we could pull a little bit more out of here? Do you think this might need to be cut and carved away a little bit to bring the true story of what they're trying to say forward a little bit? So it's a process, and each essay is different, and so, but I do think a lot about what the author is the story they're trying to tell, and how to make that story shine at the surface the best it can be without breaking down the integrity of the initial intention.
And she's really good about that too, because before this book, we were trading work. She was working on poetry and writing, novel and other things. And we were just oh, hey, here, read this chapter, or here, read this book. And so we've been doing that for a number of years. And the one thing that I appreciate about Whitney is that she can, so on a developmental level, she can kind of look at the big picture and go, there's something missing here and you need to pull something forward. And that, I think that's the one thing that I could say with absolute certainty. If you give Whitney something and there's something kind of lingering in the background, bring in what's the real story you're trying to tell? Because I think with writers, especially new writers in particular, if there's any unresolved trauma, and I am a witness, if there's unresolved trauma, the story is not going to be told in a way that will reflect the actual story, because we're kind of running and hiding from the things that actually happen. And so Whitney's really good about helping a writer bring those details forward, which, it tells a really good story when those details can be up front.
And that's one thing, as I hear, from the writer's side, I pretty much have always self-edited and things like that. But one thing that's always pushed by writers that have been in the field for a long time is like, you need to get yourself a good editor. And after just like hearing you and all the things you just brought to the table in the last couple minutes, really demonstrates like how important it is to have a good editor. To kind of like look at your work from a standpoint of, we want you to succeed, but these are some of the things that you may need to correct, because it is as a writer, you just want to be creative, but you kind of need that balance. You need somebody to be able to go through your work and be like, this is good, and you're so close, but you really just need to like tweak these parts right here. And I think that's where a lot of times editors get bad raps. They just think people are just like pushing back, like, this is terrible, fix it, but actually it comes from a sense of, we want the story to be as best it could be.
Yep.
Is there any kind of system as far as when you went to the stories of ordering? I've never really worked in a series where it was like different writers contributing to one book. It's like, obviously they're going to be like, me first, or I don't want to be last, but is there like, when you went through the system of putting them in a certain order, does it tell a bigger story, or what was your thought behind that?
I would say no, that there is no necessarily like a bigger story, except these are the stories of women who had something to say. So that was the big thing. But Whitney actually, when we were talking about order, because some of the essays were really, really strong and some of them were not as strong, she talked about a way of kind of layering them so that you would, maybe get something funny, but then get something that may have been really traumatic, or you may get like a really strong writer in the very beginning, and then, a less strong writer kind of in the mix.
Right.
So she was pivotal in that. And then with that advice, I was just like, okay, how do we do this? And then so I did it, and then she was like, okay. I think there might have been one that was kind of lingering. We couldn't figure out where to put it. Maybe it was mine. I don't know. But is that how you remember it?
Yeah, and when we talk in terms of like the strength of a story per se, it's more like all of these stories are courageous and brave and powerful, and so strength is more in the sense, I think, of some of the writers have MFA, graduate degrees in creative writing,
right.
And some folks may be newer to writing their own stories or writing essays, and so it's a matter more of experience, like you can tell that this person has studied creative nonfiction, and that is what they're doing. There's a story at the end where they're doing these really creative things with section breaks and adding images and metaphors into the story that they're telling, and so so then it's sort of there is an arc, I think, to the book, and I think it's really well encapsulated in the first story talks about a woman being held in community and feeling sort of loved by a group of friends for the first time in her 50s, and writing about that as a type of spell or magic, and then there's a story that really digs deep into kind of some childhood trauma, which is really brave to write about. And so we put that story in a specific place, and then followed it with, there's a comedic story in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some thought in there, because it's almost like, it's got to find that right rhythm. Even, because anybody can just take a few stories and put them in the book and then put them on put them on a shelf, but then it can kind of seem choppy, or people will kind of get lost in like what's the overall theme. So, and I think that's really where it kind of pays off to have a good editor and a good person with the vision to really kind of see as, let's put these stories to where as you're reading it, you're just going through all the different colors of the rainbow, as far as like emotions and storytelling. So is everybody that contributed, is that people that you knew, or is there anybody that kind of joined the team that maybe you'd never met before this started?
Yeah, so let me think. So there's a couple people that I was Facebook friends with and had never met them personally, but I knew that they were writing. And so I don't know if they just responded to the post or if I reached out to them. Who knows? It's been a year. But there was, so Amanda, Bridget, both I knew from Ashland University in master's programs. And then there was one other person who was, I think, currently in the MFA program at Ashland, who I did not know because she was like just getting there and I had already graduated. So at least 3 Ashland people, not including myself. And then there was a lady from California who I met online in some kind of writing group or something. And I knew she was writing. She had written a memoir, and I reached out to her and was like, "Hey, you want to do this thing?" And
Yeah.
I'm just always amazed at all the people who are like, "Oh, Nita's kind of crazy, but I'm just gonna just go ahead and do it because, yeah." So, and then so there was just, I think, another lady from Maryland who I did not know, but she was like a friend of a friend, and I knew she was thinking about writing seriously. And so I just reached out to my friend and said, "Hey, can you ask her?" And she put us in touch, and she said yeah. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Then I was like, oh, now I got to do this.
Yeah, now I got to do that. Yeah, now I've got I've
so,
already got some hopes up. I need to make sure it follow through.
Yep.
How did you collaborate? I mean, not everything must have been in person. Must have been a lot of virtual.
Yeah. So I gave him a deadline. I think it was maybe March or so of last year, and said, "Hey, get me your essay, first draft or whatever, by the 4th of July or something like that." And I think everybody came through except maybe 1 or 2 people who needed like another week just to kind of process or whatever. But for the most part, everybody was just kind of on board. And here's another thing too.
Mm-hmm.
I am a proponent for women being paid for their writing. Like, I mean, I think we have given up enough of everything, and so that was an opportunity for me to kind of pull some money from some savings and just get the ball rolling to get the book, and then try to make the money back again to do it again. So it wasn't a lot of money, but still, and my thing is, stop giving away your work for free.
I think that's something all of us kind of struggle with too, because I'm the same way. When I first started writing my stories, I would it pretty much hand them out like business cards, like, here you go, here you go, family, friends, I've rarely sold any, so that's a good mentality to kind of pull stuff back. Like, you know what, we all put a lot of work into this. We need to make sure that people understand, it's like, the printing is not free, the work that went into it is not free.
Yep.
And that they're actually going into supporting future endeavors, which is important stuff. So, so we're super excited. We actually have some people here that some of the contributors here. We're gonna kind of rearrange this room a little bit and actually have it set up to where they can do some readings. Ladies, thank you so much for coming out. We're gonna go ahead and we got more people coming in. I'm excited to have you guys here. I'm excited to read your book too.
Thank you.
That was a very good introduction to the different works they're going to be in and stuff. And it's lovely meeting you ladies here.
Nice to meet
she
you
also does photography as well, so we will be posting some of the pictures that she took at another art show that we had. But she also brought some, I didn't bring them in here, but brought some photography there too. So make sure I'll have all their links in the description below, so be sure to visit their sites, take a look at their writing and their photography, and hear their story, because I think it's a good one. I'm looking forward to just your future works too.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much, and thank you everybody on the audience for joining us. We're going to go ahead and end the interview here, and then we're going to go out. And for those of you that didn't make it out tonight to the book signing event, well, you're going to miss out on some readings. I'm just kidding. We're going to live stream it later. All right. All right. Take care, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.